Welcome, acolytes. Today we're reacting to Helldivers. Helldivers 2 is saved by Ref says Desu. Now, why is Helldivers safe? I don't know. I'm basically working all day right now. Like, oof. As soon as I wake up from now to the end. So I didn't get anything that Helldivers would be safe, if any type thing or something like that. But I would be freaking happy if they did something good with it. I really hope so. Because Helldivers, if you don't know what Helldivers is, it's a shooter where you shoot bugs. A lot of bugs. And when I say a lot of bugs and robots and different kinds of freaks. So you're gonna actually have a lot of fun with it, and it's basically just fun. It's one of the most positive communities in this freaking, like at any point basically, and it's just the freaking devs are also so legendary, and there are some black sheeps with some community freaking how are they called, that community managers that effed up a few times, and I really hope they got kicked out, by the way, for that. But let's see and they had a bit of a drama lately just because of Sony, and I hope that they actually could solve it, especially for us PC players, because, well, let's just see what Rev has to say about it. What is the newest and coolest information? Newest and coolest, what the fuck am I? Well, I am old. So yeah, let's just see what he has to say about it.
Here. So I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of the immense level of drama and controversy surrounding Helldivers 2 recently, and I covered some of this in yesterday's video where I went over the backlash that Helldivers 2 and Sony have been facing due to some recent changes they were trying to implement. Now, when I made this title, Helldivers 2 is finished, I was not exaggerating. At the time, things were looking really grim for this franchise. However, I am happy to announce that that narrative has switched in less than 24 hours, and I believe that Helldivers 2 is now saved because Sony admitted defeat and handed gamers a much-deserved dub.
Fuck yeah, good! Oh my god. By the freaking grace of I don't know what's up there or down there. I don't know if it was Satan or freaking God that actually saved me, but I will worship this for this the thing that actually helps Helldivers. Damn! And by the way, I am not a believer of any kind, so don't get me started on that one. But fuck yeah, I am so happy about this. Let's just continue.
Now, before we get into the recent updates, let's take 1 minute to remind ourselves how we got here. So on May 3rd, Helldivers 2 announced that PC players will have to link their Steam account to a PlayStation Network account to continue accessing Helldivers 2. Now, this was immediately met with negative responses getting reviewed.
As it should. As it should in this case. I'm not a big fan of review bombing normally, but as it should. In some cases, it's just deserved.
Bombed to the point where Helldivers 2 on Steam had an overwhelmingly negative recent set of reviews, and the overall all-time set of reviews was now mixed. Going forward, a lot of players cited their concerns about setting up a PlayStation Network account because Sony has had many data breaches. Also, in order to create a PSN account, you had to live in about, less than 24 countries in the world, because the vast majority of countries don't even have access or the ability to create a PSN account in the first place. And on top of that, among the few that can, a lot of countries in Europe, like Germany and the United Kingdom, for example, players would have to submit facial scans or government IDs to create a PSN account. And on top of that...
What the F? I didn't even know that. What? Well, I mean, I don't give a fuck about PlayStation, first of all. So, F that, but what? Is this a misinformation? How the F are you even okay with that? Damn.
When players initially bought Helldivers 2 months ago, the rule at Sony did not require players to create a PSN account to link with their Steam account. However, after the May 3rd changes, that rule would also change, saying that you may be required to link your Steam account to a PSN account to play a PC release. Now, despite the absolutely terrible optics of that situation, Sony's sucking corporate dick riders would continue to defend Sony and criticize PC gamers.
Wait, corrupt defenders. How the anyone who defended this, F you, officially from me. So you're just gonna stop playing Helldivers 2 because you don't want to create PSN account that literally only takes 2 minutes? PC gamers, yes. Yep.
For calling out this ridiculous change. However, these defenders are taking a massive L, just like Sony is taking a massive L right now. So, last night, PlayStation's official account announced this. Helldiver fans, we've heard your feedback on the Helldivers 2 account linking update. The May 6th update, which would have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linkings for new players and for current players beginning May 30th, will not be moving forward. We're still learning what is best for PC players.
Fuck yeah. Good. Good. And it's not thanks to Sony that they suddenly got some brain. No. Everything was done perfectly from the player base. As you should. And let's be honest, it was bullying. It was, but that's the only thing that works with this scam. So, I am happy they did it. Would I say you should do it? No. But did it work? Yes. And if we could just talk like normal people with you, then this wouldn't have happened. And in this specific case, it's fine. It's effing fine.
And your feedback has been invaluable. Thanks again for your continued support of Helldivers 2, and we'll keep you updated on future plans. Obviously, a huge and deserved W for gamers, and you can see the reception of this has been very, very positive. Only hours into the morning, you can already see the reviews, the recent ones, have climbed from almost single digits to 45% mixed, and the overall all-time set of ratings has climbed up to 61% despite being below 50% only yesterday. This was very well received by gamers who feel like their voice was finally heard. Now, before you say, oh, W PlayStation, this isn't a W for PlayStation. This is a W for gamers.
As I said, yes, I agree with him 100%.
PlayStation is simply correcting their own mistakes, and it's like the first step of many they have to do. If there is a mile that PlayStation and Sony has to do to make the reputation better with gamers, this was the first couple of steps. Okay, they have a long way to go to earn the trust back of gamers, and also seeing
I mean, not all gamers. PS gamers will still trust them, or those that actually sucked up to this, they will still just because they are playing PlayStation, they will still suck up. But for the actual people that think about the things, yeah, they won't be trusted. And I hope this trust won't regenerate fully ever again. Because now we know that the only way that we can actually get Sony to do something halfway decent is by bullying them. And this is sad. I dislike this fact, but if I get a better game out of it, so be it. So just effing be it.
Large volume of feedback being used to influence Sony into making changes. Wow, that should be encouraging to gamers. What about other games that have been censored, like Stellar Blade? There's petitions out there with tens of thousands of signatures to restore the changes. That might be used as a bargaining chip to make Sony go back on other bad decisions that they made to games like Stellar Blade. Now, of course, just like with the announcement of this account linking change, people are still trying to defend Sony. You see posts like this saying, facts people keep ignoring. Sony created and owns the Helldivers IP. Sony is the only owner in the history of Helldivers. Sony has funded Arrowhead for over 10 years, 8 years with no game released. Therefore, without Sony, you're not playing Helldivers. what is the point that this person's trying to make? You could use the same logic to say Sony doesn't exist without customers, and thank God for once they actually listen. This is very...
Yes. By the way, Eric, F you. If for some reason you actually see this, F you. How brain-effed are you actually? Is this the hill you want to die on? Is this truly the hill you are willing to die on? To protect a freaking corporation that doesn't give a F about you and would sell your kidney if you allowed it? What's wrong with you? If a corporation makes a mistake, just freaking say, yep, they fucked up. Because you won't make the same money that the CEOs do. They don't give a fuck about you.
Very strange astroturfing of these arguments and another desperate attempt to defend Sony. Now, in the replies, this user raises a good point. So, they say this. Now, can everyone quit taking this out on the Helldivers 2 devs? They ended up in the crossfire for this, and it wasn't fair to them as they were doing what they were contractually obligated to do. And this is a very fair point.
I agree.
The only thing that the Helldivers 2 devs are responsible for is making a really good game. And it was unfortunate that they got caught in the crossfire, and also ultimately the game they produced is getting negative reviews because of something that Sony is doing. However, beyond just the devs, there's other parties that are responsible at Arrowhead. And we'll talk about the CEO in a minute because I believe that he is somewhat culpable for some of these negative things that have happened. But the main focus should be on the community managers and the mods for Helldivers and Arrowhead who stoked the flames and made this situation so much worse by lashing out at people who had an issue with this account linking change. So we talked a lot about Spitz in this last video I made yesterday. He is a community manager who initially mocked...
And by the way, before he says yes, they mocked blah, 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 the thing is, if the community managers do shit like that, you as a freaking company leader should stomp them instantly. The first thing, you just grab them and say, well, little fella, you went a bit out on this one, didn't ya? You wanna keep your job or not? Just freaking...
A lot of people who were upset about this account leaking change when it was announced. However, credit where credit is due. While a lot of other community managers privated their account and literally ran away when this crisis was happening, Spitz would admit that they went too far with their previous comments, that they underestimated just how far all of this goes, and then even encouraged gamers to go leave negative reviews on Helldivers 2 to make their voices heard, and even encourage people to request refunds. This was a very bold change. Whether it was authentic or not, at least it took some balls to make this statement and to change their narrative so quickly once they saw the backlash from gamers. However, we're now going to move on from the actions of these community managers to the actions of some Helldivers 2 mods. And we're going to start with Grums here, aka Mark Kern, the same person who's been receiving death threats and bounties on their head for calling out censorship of games like Stellar Blade. He would share this tweet saying this: Helldivers moderator Purple Squid Gion falsely proclaims that I have sexually assaulted many people. Falsely claims I send people to attack their CMs and their families, currently banning anyone who defends me or even likes a comment that defends me from this slander, and of course adds the related parties and says, are you okay with this? And then says, also, I am not far right, I'm actually left of center, but these radicals have pushed all sanity into a bucket and kicked it off a cliff. Now let's see what happened here. So here is the he/they mod for Helldivers 2 Purple Squid Gion, and here's their comments responding to someone bringing up Mark Kern's name, where they said this: someone who sexually assaulted many people he worked with, lost his position as CEO, now is a far-right influencer who had people attack more than one of our CMs and their families. And they would double down by saying this: anyone who is a Grums fan, please out yourself so I can help you out the door.
This is the price you pay for actually hiring stupid fucks like this. And no, I am not saying that he actually deserves it, because he doesn't. He doesn't deserve this harassment. But this person, how this effing person actually got the job, I do not understand. Like, companies, for fuck's sake, start realizing, especially if you're starting out, start realizing that those people are toxic to your environment. Stop hiring them. Look at their social media. And then say, nope. It's done. Oops.
This is absolutely insane, by the way. You're a mod for a video game. You are already out of line when you're talking about subjects that have nothing to do with your moderation role. And you're especially out of line when you start using that role to slander someone and accuse them of committing multiple SAs without a single bit of proof, besides also predictably labeling all of your enemies as the far right, which is absolutely ridiculous. This is absolutely wild behavior. And you can see people even in the replies on Twitter trying to double down on this. This user saying it's not slander if it's true, where another user says, correct, it's not slander, it's libel. And then the user says, but it's true, where they're asked for proof and they provide none. These people are insane. And here is Purple Squid Gion doubling down when people say, please do not slander strangers in public. Not only is it unprofessional, it is wrong, where the mod says this, slander implies it was a lie. They are literally doubling down on these baseless allegations, okay? We live in a time where you can't simply say, I dislike that person. No, you got to go to the next level and accuse them of multiple crimes. You can't just admit, I don't like this person, I'm going to ignore them, and I'm going to move on. But you got to go to such extremes to validate your own agenda. And you know what? I understand the both financial cost and the time cost of filing a lawsuit. But man, I can't wait for one of these people to...
And it corrupted the file again. I'm getting mad at this point, but let's just continue as it is and just... Oh, getting mad at this point, but okay.
Of filing a lawsuit. But man, I can't wait for one of these people to reap what they sow in these situations, because they are doing everything in their power to make it very clear that they are publicly defaming someone. And they're very confident about it. And they're showing with this right here that they have the intent to make these claims out there. It's crazy.
Yes, and you know why? They are just strong, because with high probability nothing will happen to them. Because let's be honest, suing someone is effing expensive, and you could get a judge, even if you're 100% right. Even if you have everything correct, you did everything right, you did everything, the judge could just be like, nah, I don't like your face. F off. Without any consequences to them. So, yeah.
Going forward, Grums would also report that the mention of his name is now banned in the Helldivers Discord, and they are trying to blame him as a part of this PR mess that they created for themselves. It began with the attempt for Sony to make this whole account linking situation, but it was exacerbated by these community managers and mods who are saying all of this completely crazy stuff. Now, returning to this reply to the PlayStation tweet, remember we talked...
And they won't, by the way, they won't get any accountability. They don't give a fuck. The job is safe for some reason. I personally don't get it. If it was one of my community managers, I would be like, could you F off? Just fire them.
Talked about not taking this out on the Helldivers 2 devs, but also the CEO had a small role in the mess of this situation. And we're going to go through some of their replies on social media, and it will show that they definitely were aware and having to deal with Sony's ridiculous request, and maybe they didn't handle it the best they could, but I will also commend them for their honesty in this situation. So here is the CEO of Arrowhead and the creative director of Helldivers 2. When asked by this user saying, PlayStation Network isn't supported by my country, what do I do? They simply replied, I don't know. That's how bad things were less than 24 hours ago. You have the CEO of Arrowhead literally saying, I don't know what to do. That is really bad. Honest, but shows a very grim picture at the time.
Yeah.
Also, when asked about this screenshot that one of the community directors was saying, basically that this was always a part of the plan, well, they say that they preferred if this was optional. But there was more to this, and they would admit that they had some blame in this situation. So, the CEO says, I do have a part to play. I am not blameless in all of this. It was my decision to disable account linking at launch so that players could play the game. I did not ensure players were aware of the requirement, and we didn't talk about it enough. We knew about it 6 months before launch that it would be mandatory for online PlayStation titles. So here you
he fucked up. Like, if that's true, he said the truth, so it's true, but he fucked up. Definitively. There isn't even a different finger to blame. He fucked up. If this is just purely true, okay, he fucked up. But at least he admits it. And right now, it's fine. Let's just say we're gonna work from the point on that we know now. We know where the problem was, and it's let's just look for a solution, not for someone to blame.
You have the CEO of Arrowhead admitting that they knew this account linking requirement was going to happen eventually, and they've known about it for months, but they didn't say anything or didn't make a big enough effort to make players aware of this. That is not good. I think that is shady behavior, and they did it to sell more titles. Obviously.
Definitively.
Okay. Were they correct when they said that they would sell less games if players knew about this upcoming account linking feature?
100%, because I wouldn't buy it. If I knew you need an account, 100%, like if I really seen it, I don't overlook it, I wouldn't buy, like not a chance in hell I would buy Helldivers. Not the slightest chance. Because I don't like Sony. Sony has a really bad past with actually losing your information. So, no, I wouldn't. And he's correct about it. So was it good? It was shady. It was bullshit. It was... But at the end, okay, at least he admitted and they are actually doing something against it. So, still bullshit. Still bad. But, okay. Okay.
Of course. Less people would buy the game. And they decided to basically bury their head in the sand and act like this was going to go away. I think, personally, that the CEO just hoped that eventually Sony would see the success of Helldivers 2, and when this date finally approached in May, where this account link would happen, they would give Helldivers 2 a pass. And they would say, you know what, forget it. The game's going so well, we're not going to move forward. But finally, that date did arrive, and Sony doubled down and said, nope, we're going forward with it, just like...
And by the way, how stupid was that? You really think a big corporation like Sony that just are out for their own asses would actually forget that? You really are a stupid dumbass for hoping something like that would happen. If they in fact did. But I don't see it as unrealistic that they did.
You knew about 6 months ago. Now, I will say I appreciate the honesty and the professionalism of some of these replies from the CEO. I will say that because honestly, 99% of people in his position wouldn't have said anything. They didn't have to. And honestly, they would have gotten away with it if these changes still were announced last night by Sony and these things went back, these account linking changes. Nobody would have known about the fact that the CEO knew about this months ago. But they were honest on Twitter, and maybe it's against their best interest, but I think it showed at least a level of responsibility and accountability here.
I will say yes, in the short run it's against their best interest, but in the long run I think this was the right decision to do. Especially because, let's be honest, there are so many dishonest players in here, Sony. And it's just refreshing to see someone honest. It's just something so good. I am so happy about it.
And they would also have a similar response when asked by Savvy here about this whole linking situation and knowing about it 6 months ago. And they gave, again, a very reasonable and honest response to this question that is asking about some things that make them look bad. And of course, seeing this very professional and just reasonable series of interactions, a question and a polite answer, the Kotaku editor Alyssa would be fuming. She made...
Oh, get out of here. This... bad person.
Made this subtweet this morning saying, "Don't love to see the Arrowhead CEO replying to the same woman who thinks the United Nations is making your games woke and is making Pepe Silvia boards about it. If more people were full-throated talking about these chuds, maybe that would not happen."
Can someone explain to me what a chud is? Does she mean Chad? Like the Chad meme? Is it that? But it probably loses the word as other words like freaking Nazi. Nazi was also a freaking word that had a meaning. Now it just means you disagree with someone on the left side. So fucking worthless right now. Like it lost any meaning it actually had.
I don't know what she's trying to say with this last part. It sounds very weird. But yeah, the UN is definitely attacking video games. We know this. And also, Alyssa is mad because Sylvia was the one responsible for making the board linking all the connections, both government and alike, that companies like Sweet Baby Inc. are involved with. She did the research. Imagine being a journalist who's mad that someone is doing your job.
Alyssa. It's just Alyssa. Imagine, you don't have to imagine it. You have someone right here. This. It's just one of the people that actually don't want to do their jobs, but still want the freaking fame and money for it. For exactly zero work. Here, we have a name for it. It's Alyssa.
Better than you and actually doing research.
And I'm sorry for all the Alyssas that will actually watch this or won't watch it. But sorry, this woman think, or is it a he, she, it? The thing just, it just puts the freaking name in the dirt. It just comes like it is what it is.
Research to discover just how much government backing companies like Sweet Baby Inc. have. This is embarrassing and another example of people living rent-free in her head. And Savvy would reply, sharing a screenshot of Alyssa's tweet saying, "For the record, she has an issue with a CEO saying thank you to me for the civil questions. If you'd recall, her own questions towards a different CEO were met with the CEO saying she misrepresented him this weekend." That is something I talked about in a recent video as well if you want to check that out.
Damn.
And she would go on saying, "I'm not sure what full-throated means, and I honestly don't want to know what, I don't know what chuds are, but if you're a writer with such a limited vocabulary where all you can do is hurl insults, I'm really not concerned about your opinion. Are you calling for harassment for me?
Damn.
All because I ask questions? Why would full-throated talking about these chuds stop someone from speaking to me? Doesn't sound very inclusive." Also, here's the thing too, like if you're confused what chuds means at this point, it just means anyone these people don't like. You're a chud, just like you're also a Nazi and probably a Zionist at this point. All of these things, right? They're just watered down buzzwords at this point. But also this whole thing about getting mad about asking a question. Imagine being a journalist, being mad about people asking questions. That is your entire...
Well, Alyssa. Yep.
existence as a journalist is to ask questions. And here you have someone asking a question and getting a fair and productive response, and you're jealous and angry. It's so sad. But moving forward, returning to Mark Kern here, we should learn something from this situation with Sony and Helldivers 2. They said, "We have looked at your large volume of feedback, and we are taking that to heart, and we are going to make changes." How does that apply to Stellar Blade? Well, here we have a petition, which I believe has over 80,000 signatures at this point, with the hopes of reverting censorship of this game. That is
And for the gamers that actually play it, because I don't own a PS5 and I will never own one, probably with high probability. I just don't care about this shit. Yeah, I hope for them. I really hope it. I truly hope they reverse the decisions they made with the main character, because that's just pure bullshit.
a great bargaining chip, and we should push once again to not forget about Stellar Blade and try to get these changes once again reverted, as people were promised with the uncensored release of this game. And also, as Vera points out here, don't give Sony the pass. This isn't Sony's great victory. This is a small step in the right direction. There's still tons of concerns listed here, beginning with Stellar Blade and other recent things, but historical ones, especially involving the Crunchyroll and Funimation mergers and other games that have been censored in recent years. This is just the beginning, and this should be encouraging to people. And yeah, you should view this as an opportunity to make your voices heard to Sony and make them start listening. It's in Sony's best interest to listen to people who are voting and making their opinions shared with their wallets and their negative reviews. But for now, that is going to do it.
As it is, Acolytes, legendary, ref, as always, on point, on freaking perfect. And I hope that the file doesn't get corrupted again. So, until then, good night.